Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wa sallallahu ala rasulillah. What we're going to do tonight, brothers, is we're going to do something different, called a lesson for a new Muslim. The Prophet said, طَلُبُ الْعِلْمِ فَرِيضَةٌ عَلَى كُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ, and it means seeking the knowledge, meaning what knowledge? The obligatory knowledge is mandatory upon every accountable person. Every accountable Muslim should be Muslim. If you took a picture, take another picture. So I'll take another picture, erase that one. Should be on every accountable Muslim.
I'm not accountable for every accountable person.
طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم. But in terms of what is the job of the accountable person?
To be a
Muslim.
To be a Muslim,
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
So we'll explain this. So in Islam, and so what we're talking about here is the what? The obligatory knowledge. Or what I call the IOK, meaning what? The Islamic obligatory knowledge. And here we mean the personal, because there is obligatory knowledge that's a requisite for the community to acquire, and then there's the obligatory knowledge that's a requisite requirement for the individual to acquire. So when we talk about the IOK, Islamic obligatory knowledge here, we mean the personal obligatory knowledge. Because there's going to be knowledge of some of the details of Islamic law, the details of the creed, details related to a Quranic recitation. This is not an obligation upon every Muslim. But there is a body of knowledge that is mandatory upon every accountable Muslim. And the accountable Muslim, so all of this will explain it. And then this way, with this knowledge, this is called the what? The knowledge of discrimination. And we're not talking about Jim Crow, Brother Yaqeen. What does discrimination here mean? Discernment, meaning the ability to distinguish between what is valid religiously and what is invalid religiously. So this is what we mean by discrimination. I know yesterday, because of their day. No, we mean by discrimination here, to discriminate is to what? To distinguish. So this is the knowledge of discrimination, so that we can know what is a valid act, meaning what is an act that is in accordance with the rules of the religion, and what is invalid. Because without that knowledge, then the person will be what? Guessing. He will be guessing. How do you make Hajj? Do you just go there and just do whatever? You need knowledge to be able to distinguish what is valid for the Hajj, what is invalid. If you want to fast, don't you need to know the rules? In this culture, when people say fasting, they don't mean leaving out what? Water, drinking, and things like that, right? Usually people say a fast, they mean in English, in American culture, they mean not eating, but they what? Drink. So the person may think, well, that's what fasting is. Islamically, when you have the knowledge of what? Discrimination, you will know that the fasting includes not just eating, but also what? Drinking. So this is the knowledge of discrimination. And this knowledge is, like I said, it's a knowledge of discrimination that enables us to distinguish between what is valid from what is invalid. And it's the means to what? Have one's deeds accepted. Because what do we want? To have our deeds accepted by the Creator. And to avoid what? Sinning. Inshallah. Because a person may fall into sins and he's not even aware that he's what? Fallen into sins. So the Prophet told us seeking the knowledge, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is seeking the knowledge is mandatory upon every Muslim. Meaning again, a certain portion, the obligatory knowledge, and not every Muslim without exception, but every accountable Muslim. So we're going to talk about what the accountable person is in a minute, inshallah. So we mentioned here the obligatory knowledge. Here we're talking about personal obligatory knowledge is the knowledge of what discrimination, so that we can know for ourselves or regarding the personal obligatory knowledge, how to perform valid acts of worship and how to avoid sin. And this includes what? This is going to include matters related to the doctrine, meaning what? The belief, the creed. Creed means what? Belief. In English you say what? Incredible, right? Means literally not believable. Yeah. So from the same root, creed. But here, creed means what we have to believe. So that's belief. What else is part of the obligatory knowledge? Purification and prayer. Purification and prayer. Because the greatest of the deeds after the proper belief, after having the proper creed, is what? Performance of the obligatory prayer. What else does it include?
Fasting.
Includes zakat. This is mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he mentioned that Islam is built on 5. Okay, so the core, the foundation, the central pillar of Islam is the what?
Creed.
The creed. Okay, because without the proper belief, then the other 4 matters they're invalid. So the creed, we'll come back, inshallah, step by step and cover. So zakat, and then also what you said? Fasting during Ramadan. What else is part of the obligatory knowledge? What's that? The Hajj. And that's it, that's the 5. So belief, and here we're talking in particular what? The Shahada. Okay? The declaration of faith. Purification and prayer. The zakat, we'll mention what that is in detail in the future. Fasting, and the Hajj is the what? The pilgrimage. So today, we can't cover all of these today, but these are what are known as, people refer to them as the 5 pillars. But the central pillar is the what? Belief, the creed, the proper doctrine. Now, additionally to the obligatory knowledge, there are other things that we have to be aware of. Especially here, we would have what? Dealings and transactions. How to buy and how to sell and other forms of transaction. So this is also part of the what? Obligatory knowledge. Can you just buy anything? No, there are things that we can't buy. Can you just sell whatever? Certain things you can't sell. You have to acquire the knowledge so you can distinguish what is valid to sell, what is invalid to sell. So dealings and transactions, and included that is what? Marriage. Yeah. Somebody wants to get married. In Islam, there are rules for what? Marriage. Yeah. How the marriage contract is conducted, what are the rights of the husband, what are the rights of the wife. All of this has what? Rules. Mm-hmm. Alhamdulillah, these rules benefit us so we can have inshallah, a stable community. And also they benefit us after we die. They benefit the individual in this life. They benefit what? The community. And they benefit the human being after what? Death. No. And also, to know what is part of the obligatory knowledge is to know about what? The obligations and sins of the body. This body is not ours in the ultimate sense. We are the property of the Creator, of Allah. So this body, contrary to what they say here, that is, you're not free to do whatever you want with your body. You have what? Rules by which to what? Use your body. Some things are not allowed for the human being to do. We were talking last night, some places, they put like bones and stuff in their noses and plates in their... You cannot do this religiously. Because that's what? Considered abusing your body. It's going beyond what God made permissible for the person to do. Similarly, you will find people, they what? Put alcohol in their body. This is what? Abusing The body. God did not give us the right to do this. Some people put what? Drugs in their body, for example. So we need to learn what is an obligation for the heart, for example. Like having the proper what? Belief, being sincere in doing the acts of obedience. All of this is how, so you can learn how to manage the heart. Because the heart, you cannot just have your heart feel and do whatever. You need to what? Manage it. I mean, sometimes feelings come up and you have to work with that, but meaning you cannot just allow those feelings to dominate what you're going to do. Because usually the bad actions come from what? Bad thoughts, don't they? Bad feelings, bad thoughts lead to what? Bad actions. So alhamdulillah, when you're aware of the different obligations and the sins of the body, then you will better yourself. And regarding learning about the sins, what is the saying? Whoever doesn't know evil
Will fall in there.
is more likely to fall into it. If you don't know where the limits are, if you don't know what evil is, more likely to what? Fall into it. So we learn about the sins of the body, so we are aware what are the things that like we just said, you cannot drink alcohol, you cannot put they do now, they put like disc and stuff in their ears and stuff like that. We don't have the right to do this religiously. Not talking about what they say on their legal books. So how do you know what to do? You have to acquire the
Obligatory knowledge.
You have to acquire the obligatory knowledge. So now let's go ahead, inshallah, we'll continue. Inshallah ta'ala. Brother David, is this clear? And this is how we better ourselves, is through what? Knowledge. Last night we were talking about this, right, Brother Yaqub?
Yeah, brother.
The only way to better yourself is through what? Knowledge. And the religion, alhamdulillah, anyone who knows about the history of Islam, it's very clear that we're not talking about our situation today, but historically, the Muslims were known to be people of knowledge, not a culture of ignorance, not a culture of ignorance. You know, when those so-called Ansar-ul-Din people, these extremists were in Mali, and they wanted to destroy these libraries there, and people would have in their homes like thousands of pages of manuscripts, handwritten, going back centuries, that are kept in the families. Because this is part of our tradition.
Even then, they still pulling stuff out.
They're still pulling stuff out. People have stuff hidden, in order to preserve it, mashallah. And because it's in the desert, it doesn't go bad quickly, mashallah. So this is part of our legacy. You go to what is north of there, north of Mali, north of Morocco, was what? Muslim Spain. Very famous for what? Knowledge and learning, and not just religious learning, what? Sciences and architecture. Because that, alhamdulillah, when you have a stable human being, the stable human being, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, is going to produce what? A stable community. And a stable community, when you have a stable community, it enables what? Things like art and science to flourish. Isn't this okay? Look, if you have a community and half the people on drugs, the other ones are thieves, the other ones are serial fornicators, are you going to have any stability in the community? No. Alcoholics, 2/3 of them are alcohol. How are you going to have stability?
It's too dangerous.
You can't. They're psychologically not stable. How they would interact with each other is not stable. How are they going to find time to really think about doing incredible things? But alhamdulillah, in the Islamic culture, you're learning. We talked about we mentioned belief, which we'll get to in some detail. And we talked about what? Purification and prayer. So the purification to keep the body clean. The prayer, besides the reward, it helps you leave this world for a few minutes, doesn't it? You have people, all they think about is just what? This world, meaning on a materialistic level. When you pray, you're not getting paid to pray. You're doing it for what reason?
Sake of Allah.
For the sake of Allah. When you're in your prayer, what happens to a lot of these worldly concerns?
You forget about
They just drop off. Yeah, alhamdulillah, you get done with your prayer, you may come back to this place, but you still are what? You get these breaks from this world. Alhamdulillah, the one as he gets more devout, he'll get up late at night before the dawn, and he prays maybe 20 minutes, a half hour. The more he's not so attached to this dunya. And this in itself, how many people are having nervous breakdowns because of worrying about what? The dunya. So many people, on the meds, right? Depression, anxiety, because of what? Worry about this.
Some of them on drugs.
On hard drugs, in addition to what they call legal drugs. And the people hooked on the hard drugs. alhamdulillah, if the person is an obedient Muslim and he's in that culture, look at how he's protected from these things. If he or she is practicing. Now, of course, you have bad Muslims who don't follow the rules, that's a fact. But we're saying if one is obedient, alhamdulillah, it protects a person in so many ways. So now let's talk about, so we talk about a very wide summary of the obligatory knowledge. Now let's start to break it down about the accountable person, and then we'll go step by step from there. So the accountable person in Islam, he has what? 3 conditions. Or let's say accountable person, who is he? The one held responsible
For his own action.
in this world, yeah. The one held responsible for his creed and deeds in the hereafter. So in the hereafter, he is going to be what? Brought into account for what he believed and what he did and related to that what he said. Nah.
In this life.
Yeah, what he did in this life, because what we do in this life has what? Consequences. Even if you think about it, in this life, the decisions that you were making at 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, if you were 30, haven't those decisions influence your situation now?
Yes.
No. Okay, probably we would have made different decisions, but Allah, this is what Allah willed, and we fix ourselves. But what the decisions that we make in this life, typically we see that they have, when we were younger, they have consequences when we are what? Older. Yeah, that's in this life. Now we know more beyond that, and this ties into talking about prophethood, that God sent prophets to inform us about what is to our benefit, what will help us, and what is to our detriment, what will harm us, not only in this life, but in the afterlife. This is from the knowledge of the prophets. So that's how we know. It's not by just trying to guess, it's not philosophy, but through what? Revelation. So the accountable person is the one who was held responsible for his creed and deeds and his sayings in the hereafter, meaning what he does in this life. And there are 3 conditions. What are they? He is what? Sane. So the example of the opposite, sane, of a sound mind. So the opposite would be somebody who's crazy. Mm-hmm. Somebody who's crazy and he's out of touch with reality, they say, right? Mm-hmm. You talk to him and he can't understand. Also related to that would be somebody who's what? Severely retarded. Mm-hmm. Not a little slow, because you meet some people, they're a little what? Slow, you have to repeat things, but they can what? Understand. Mm-hmm. But then you have other people, they are not in touch with reality. Or they are so, they have such a mental retardation, they can't understand. Mm-hmm. So such people are regarded as not being sane. So they don't meet that condition. Yeah. Sane, what's the second condition? Pubescent. Alhamdulillah, the religion, even here, you can see it gives the person what order. There are conditions. So puberty, Islamically, and again, sometimes we're using certain freight terms, but we mean in the Islamic context, which is still what? Defined. Mm-hmm. So the pubescent person, for the male, he is what? He is seen his what? Mani, and if he didn't see his mani, then what happens? 15 lunar years. So mani, what is mani? The seminal fluid. Okay, if it came out of his body, whether, for example, if it came out through a nocturnal emission, a wet dream, if he had intercourse, then if it came out, then this would he would now be regarded as what? Being pubescent. If it did not come out of his body, then when he reaches what? 15 lunar years. And what do we mean by a lunar year? The Islamic calendar is 12 months, but it's based upon the lunar cycle. So the lunar month is about what? 29 or 30 days. So a lunar year is about 11 days shorter than a solar year. So 15 lunar years would be about what? 14 and a half solar years. Okay. So if he did not see his mani, his seminal fluid, then when he reaches what? 15 lunar years. And then for the female, these two conditions, or when she has her menarche. Her menarche is her what? First menses. The menarche is the first menses. So whenever she had her monthly cycle, if she had her monthly cycle, then she's regarded as what? Pubescent. If she saw the meni, she does not have seminal fluid, obviously, but she has a fluid that comes out upon climax, sexual arousal. So the actual the fluid of arousal, not the fluid of the climax, not just the arousal. So if this fluid comes out, then we regard her as what? Pubescent. Or if this did not happen for her and this did not happen for her, when she reaches what? 15 years. For the guys, of course, the menarche doesn't apply, so it's whichever one of these comes first. And then the third condition for what? Being accountable is what?
Heard the basic call to Islam.
Heard the call to Islam. The basic call, as you said, Sayyid Tariq. And here, when you just, as you said, heard the call, meaning the what? Basic call. And which is what? In a language that they understand. And what is the heard the call to Islam? What is the call to Islam? The basic call to Islam? No one is God but Allah. Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. So that's all that's required. So we'll write that here. So this is called, in Arabic, it's called the what? If we say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Yeah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Let's just mention the basic call, because it's not necessarily they hear the phrase "I bear witness" like that. The call.
I have a question, brother.
Hold on, just one second. You can
Okay.
hold on. We say nothing is worthy of worship except Allah. Muhammad, and it's important that the ha, this is not a regular H, this is a Muhammad is the messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Because we said the Arabic has two H-type letters, correct? So, and the same for the word Allah, this A should be stretched. So we're just putting that there as a reminder to stretch it. So it's not Allah, but Allah, Allah. And the name Muhammad, not Muhammad, no, Muhammad. So it's Mu, and then this H, Muhammad, with the double M. Yes, brother.
Okay, so say if it's a non-Muslim, like 12 or 13, whoever met the requirements, but they look up to you. Like they see you're a Muslim, they look up to you. Could they say the Shahada?
Yeah, you give them the Shahada. Yeah,
Okay.
even if they haven't reached accountability yet. But you give them the Shahada, inshallah.
Okay.
Yeah. But in 12 or 13, certainly for a lot of the females, they are pubescent.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the guys even, but for certainly many of the girls, they're pubescent at that point. So.
I got a lot of little cousins and
Yeah, talk to them, inshallah. No, you can have a big influence. I mean, this is how it happened, like in Philadelphia, where you had one Muslim in the family, and then he talks, and then you find the whole family, alhamdulillah, is Muslim. Yes, Sayyid. Okay, barakallahu feek. Brother David, do you have any questions up to this point? Clear? Okay, inshallah, what we're going to do is we're going to go into part 2, inshallah. Walhamdulillah wa sallallahu ala rasulillah.